Franz Kafka's novella, The Metamorphosis, originally published in 1915, is one of the most haunting and surreal works in modern literature. The story centers on Gregor Samsa, a traveling salesman, who awakens one morning to find himself transformed into a gigantic insect. This bizarre transformation is not treated as the central mystery to be solved, but rather as a premise from which Kafka explores the deeper existential anxieties of the modern individual. Through themes of alienation, identity crisis, absurdity, and the disintegration of familial bonds, the Metamorphosis becomes a profound meditation on the human condition in a dehumanizing world. The transformation as symbol. Gregor's transformation into an insect is, at first glance, shocking and grotesque. However, Kafka deliberately avoids explaining the cause of this metamorphosis. Instead, he invites readers to focus on its effects. The transformation serves as a powerful metaphor for the dehumanization of the individual in modern capitalist society. Gregor, once the family's sole breadwinner, is reduced to an object of horror and shame the moment he can no longer contribute economically. Kafka's use of a non-specific insect, a monstrous vermin, emphasizes Gregor's complete loss of humanity and individuality. His grotesque body becomes a symbol of his perceived worthlessness in the eyes of society and his family. In this way, Kafka highlights how easily one's humanity can be denied when utility is lost. 2. Alienation and isolation. One of the central themes of the novella is alienation. Even before his transformation, Gregor is portrayed as an alienated figure. He works a demanding and unfulfilling job to support his ungrateful family with little thought for his own happiness. His life is governed by duty and routine, not by passion or self-expression. After the transformation, Gregor's alienation becomes literal. Confined to his room, he is increasingly cut off from human interaction. His family locks him away, and communication breaks down. Even his voice becomes unintelligible to others. As the story progresses, Gregor becomes more insect than human, not just in appearance but in behavior, hiding under the couch and crawling on the walls. His alienation reaches its peak when his sister Grete, once his closest ally, tells the family that they must get rid of it, no longer referring to him as Gregor. Kafka masterfully portrays how alienation can erode one's identity. Gregor is gradually erased from the lives of those around him until he ceases to exist entirely, not only physically, but also symbolically, as he is forgotten and discarded. The collapse of the family unit. Kafka uses the Samsa family to illustrate how economic structures can corrupt familial relationships. Initially, Gregor is the provider, and his family is entirely dependent on his income. His transformation shatters this dynamic, revealing their true feelings toward him. Instead of showing compassion, the family reacts with fear, resentment, and shame. His father becomes violent, attacking Gregor with apples and wounding him severely. His mother is paralyzed by fear and denial. Grete initially cares for Gregor, bringing him food and cleaning his room, but even she grows tired and bitter, ultimately advocating for his removal. The family's shift from dependence to hostility underscores how economic roles shape human relationships. Kafka suggests that when love and duty are contingent on productivity, the family becomes just another system of exploitation. Once Gregor can no longer serve a purpose, he is seen as a burden to be eliminated. Identity and the self. Kafka's novella is also a profound exploration of identity. Gregor's mind remains human throughout most of the story, but his body becomes an obstacle between him and the outside world. This disjunction creates a crisis of identity. Is Gregor still himself if no one recognizes him? If his voice, actions, and body all belong to an insect, does his internal sense of self matter? As Gregor's self-perception deteriorates, Kafka emphasizes the fragility of identity in a world that values appearance and function over inner life. The longer Gregor lives as an insect, the more he begins to think and act like one. He stops eating human food, delights in crawling on the ceiling, and eventually accepts his exclusion from the family. In this way, Kafka explores how external circumstances can shape and ultimately destroy the self. Absurdity and the human condition. Kafka's use of absurdity, most notably the unexplainable and sudden transformation of Gregor, reflects a broader existential concern with the irrationality of life. In the world of the Metamorphosis, there is no justice, no redemption, and no logic. Events happen without reason, and suffering is arbitrary. This aligns Kafka with other existentialist thinkers such as Camus and Sartre, though Kafka's world is often darker and more suffocating. Gregor's demise is both tragic and senseless. He dies alone in his room, unloved and unmourned, not because he has committed any wrong, but simply because he has become useless. His family, instead of grieving, feels a sense of relief and goes out to enjoy the sunshine and plan for a better future. Kafka's depiction of such a cold, indifferent universe reflects the existential idea that life lacks inherent meaning, and that human beings must confront this void with honesty. The role of work in capitalism. Kafka was intimately familiar with the demands of bureaucratic and capitalist labor, having worked in insurance for much of his life. This experience permeates the Metamorphosis. Gregor is introduced not as a son or brother, but as a worker who fears he has missed his train and disappointed his boss. His identity is tied entirely to his occupation. The novella critiques the dehumanizing effects of capitalist society. Gregor's job is soul-crushing and offers no fulfillment, yet it defines his entire existence. When he becomes unable to work, he is discarded, echoing Marxist critiques of labor alienation. Kafka suggests that in a capitalist system, human value is reduced to economic productivity, and those who fall outside that system, like Gregor, are marginalized or erased. Sept. Language and communication breakdown. Another key theme is the breakdown of communication. Gregor's transformation renders him incapable of speech, and his family ceases to understand or empathize with him. The loss of language mirrors the loss of identity and social connection. Kafka emphasizes how language is central to human relationships, and when it breaks down, so too does understanding and compassion. Even before his transformation, Gregor's communication with his family and employer is mechanical and devoid of real emotion. The transformation merely brings this existing disconnection to the surface. As Kafka shows, in a world where language is reduced to commands, orders, and pleasantries, real human communication becomes impossible. 8. Conclusion. Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis is a timeless exploration of alienation, identity, and the absurdity of human existence. Through the surreal and tragic story of Gregor Samsa, Kafka challenges readers to confront the fragility of the self in a world that prioritizes utility over humanity. The novella's nightmarish tone, unsettling symbolism, and psychological depth have made it one of the defining works of modernist literature. Kafka's genius lies in his ability to present the absurd in a matter-of-fact manner, forcing us to question the structures and values of our own lives. The Metamorphosis is not merely a story about a man who becomes an insect. It is a profound commentary on what it means to be human in an indifferent, often hostile world.